Sorry that it took me a while to go and get this done. Uh, I just was trying to get some other stuff done in the meantime, and last week I had entirely forgotten I needed to go and read a story. I was busy with writing something and just had some personal things in life that I was busy with, but yeah, everything's fine now. I can go and get back to this. Um, I hope you've been okay. I hope that everything's been going well for you. If you're coming back and listening to this, um, yeah, I hope everything's been good. I hope that you've been having fun. Um, Today's story is a new story. It just came out in November, beginning of November, November 4th. It is called Wonder. I have no idea what to expect from it, but yeah, we're gonna see how this is gonna go and everything. Um, it's by somebody called Tim Chambers. I will have to see if he's wrote anything else, depending on if I end up liking the story. If I do, I see that he wrote something else, I'm gonna go and probably read that story next. Um, but other than that, let's get to this. Let's go and read. The elderly man clutched the phone next to his ear, his face a mask of concern. How long is he going to be there? He asked, his voice low to avoid drawing attention from the patrons wandering into the nightclub. He listened, then said, "How's he holding up?" Pause. Then he nodded. "That's right. It's tomorrow, isn't it? I'll put together something for him. Something special." The man, his eyes weighed down by tired bats, closed the phone, then slipped it into the pocket of his worn sport jacket. He surveyed the nightclub he managed. The dim room held a sparse crowd, listening lazily to the half-hearted music produced by a second-rate guitarist on stage. The manager shook his head as if that could shake away thoughts of the phone call he'd just finished. "The show must go on," he muttered. He went backstage and spotted the next performer, a tall, youthful figure in faded velvet and crimson gloves. The manager approached the magician. "All right, kid. You're up next," he said. "The crowd's thin. They're not expecting much. Do your best, okay?" The magician adjusted his top hat and grinned, the smile reaching his piercing blue eyes. "Don't worry. They're in for something special." The guitarist wound down his lackluster hat and shuffled off the stage without a word. A bored MC appeared, barely glancing at the sparse crowd scattered across the dingy room under the weak, flickering spotlight. He droned into the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, uh, please welcome the amazing Alex." His voice held the enthusiasm of someone reading a grocery list. A few stray claps echoed weakly, drowned by the slurred laughter of a drunk perched at the bar. "Oh, great," the drunk jeered, swaying slightly. "Another rabbit out of the hat, clown." The magician mounted the stage. He bowed deeply, holding his pose for a moment before straightening. He held out his arms in a welcoming gesture.
Good evening, ladies, and, well, mostly gentlemen.
The heckler belched, waving his drink dismissively.
Yeah. So what are you gonna do?
The magician's jovial smile didn't falter.
Actually,
He said, his voice dropping into something conspiratorial.
I'm not gonna tell you what I'll do.
The audience stirred, some leaning forward to their creaky chairs.
Instead, you
He swept a hand towards the crowd.
are gonna tell me what I'll do.
A ripple of murmurs waved through the room. The heckler snorted.
What a joke.
He slurred. From the back, an agitated voice called out, clear and cutting.
Make that guy shut up.
The magician smiled wide and mischievously.
Granted.
He said with a snap of his fingers. A puff of smoke erupted around the heckler. When it cleared, the drunk was clutching at his throat, eyes wide in surprise, his lips moving, but no sound escaping. The crowd laughed and offered a smattering of claps. A bold voice from up front shouted,
Hey, he's just a plant.
Alex perked up and grinned.
Plant, you say?
He snapped his fingers again, and another puff of smoke surrounded the drunk. When it dissipated, only a potted plant sat on the bar stool. The crowd laughed and offered appreciated applause.
Who's next?
Asked the magician. The bold guy leaned forward again.
25 grand, right here. He slammed his hand on the table in front of him, the forced gesture causing some of his beer to slosh over the rim of the glass. Sorry, the magician replied with a playful smirk. Only one trick to a customer.
The bold guy grunted a bit, but his protest soon petered out. Alex turned his gaze to a dejected-looking young couple nestled in the corner, their expressions as dim as the nightclub.
You, ma'am.
The magician called, his voice smooth.
Penny for your thoughts.
On the floor, she pulled a copper coin from his ear, holding it aloft like a trophy. The woman began, hesitated.
Well, that guy's trick sounds good to me. I owe $25,000 due to debt. It will take me 10 years of waiting tables to pay for the useless degree I bought. So 25 grand, right here.
She tapped the table.
Granted.
The magician closed his hand around the penny, and a cloud of smoke swallowed it. The audience gasped, eyes wide with anticipation.
There you go.
He announced proudly, extending his hand to give the coin to the young woman. She stared at it. Bemused, she nodded as if she'd known all along that the magician wasn't for real.
Great. A penny.
She sighed.
30,000 more and I can make next month's loan payment.
She examined the coin a bit more, then noticed.
It's not even the right color.
The last observation drew the attention of her boyfriend, a numismatist. He took the coin and scrutinized it with the attention of a neurosurgeon.
White penny. Steel. Minted in 1944. Rare as hell. Even a circulated one of these goes for 30,000.
He exclaimed, excited as a kid on Christmas. The young couple's spirits transmuted to a confused hope. The small crowd buzzed with curiosity. Alex noticed a shift, sensing the electric energy building around him. He had their attention now. And he knew from long experience that he'd keep it for the rest of the show.
Who's next?
He asked again, scanning the audience for the next willing participant, his eyes eager. gaze fell upon another couple who looked like they could be newlyweds, their spirits not dampened a bit by the bleak surroundings. The young woman hung onto her boo like a life preserver. The fellow spoke confidently.
True love.
He said, paying his girlfriend a flirtatious wink.
We want true love.
Alec's face softened.
True love, eh?
Bent him out with a practiced flick of his wrist.
Pick a card,
He said, extending the deck towards the man, who hesitated only briefly before pulling the card free.
Show it to everyone, except me, of course.
The man turned the card around for the audience to see. Laughter filled the room as the crowd recognized the Queen of Hearts. The magician held out the deck to the young man.
Back into the deck, please.
He shuffled the cards with a flourish, the cards whirring between his fingers as he rifled through them.
Now,
The magician said, lowering his voice theatrically.
let's see where love takes us.
He snapped his fingers. A spark jumped from his hands. Pulled out a card with a grand flourish.
Your true love,
He declared, handing it to the man. The man flipped the card over, revealing the two of clubs. He frowned, visibly disappointed. He shook his head. The magician raised his eyebrows.
Oh dear.
Alec exclaimed, his eyes widening in surprise.
I think I've made a mistake.
Then, after letting dramatic pause pass, he turned to the woman sitting next to the man.
Perhaps the queen of your heart should check her purse.
The room's spirits rose in expectant murmurs. The woman blinked, confused. My purse? Yes, Alice insisted, gesturing towards her bed.
Have a look.
With a bewildered expression, she reached into her purse and gasped. Slowly she withdrew the Queen of Hearts, taped to which was a small velvet box. Her hand trembled as she opened the box to reveal an engagement ring inside. The audience burst into applause as the woman's eyes filled with tears.
Yes.
She cried, turning to her stunned boyfriend.
Yes, I'll marry you.
The man looked genuinely astonished. He stammered and grinned lopsidedly. He turned to Alex, who gave him a wink. He remembered his old mentor, Orion.
Magic isn't about fooling people.
The old wizard had said.
It's about creating a sense of wonder.
Alex surveyed the crowd, small but starry-eyed.
Thank you, Orion.
He silently said. The manager approached the magician as the last of the crowd, bubbling with chatter about the show, trickled out of the club. The magician was packing his props, carefully placing them into a small leather case. His velvet coat hung loosely over his shoulders. His eyes twinkled with the original thrill of the evening's performance.
Hey, kid.
The manager said, lighting a cigarette. He glanced around the empty room with a frown.
You did good out there. Real good. I don't know how the hell you did that ring trick, but they ate it up.
Alex smiled, but didn't stop packing his gear.
The best tricks are the simplest ones,
He said, cryptically.
But what about Tommy?
The manager pressed.
Tommy?
The drunk, explained the manager. Where'd you hide him?
Ah,
Replied the magician, grinning.
he's someplace safe. A bit confused, maybe, but he's alright.
The manager thought about pursuing the matter, but let it pass. Generation of experience with a generation of stage magicians told him that asking about the tricks was useless. Illusionists never displaying their secrets.
Listen, the manager continued, rubbing the back of his neck. How do you feel about doing another show? You've got a booking here as long as you want.
The magician shook his head, his movements deliberate.
Sorry, only one show to a venue. A promise to my master.
The magician exhaled smoke, letting the silence linger before chuckling.
Can't say I blame you. I'd hightail it out of this dump if I could.
Alex smiled, then returned his attention to his packing. The manager hesitated as the germ of an idea dawned upon him. He flicked the cigarette away.
Hey, uh, how about doing a birthday party?
The magician raised a curious eyebrow. His interest piqued.
A birthday party?
He repeated, his tone neutral, but a hint of curiosity creeping in. The manager nodded, pulling out a wad of bills from his pocket. He fanned them out. The crisp 20s crinkled.
Or I can make it worth your while.
The magician glanced at the money but remained unmoved. He started to turn away.
It's not about the money.
The manager added, quickly, his voice dropping lower.
It's my grandson.
Alex paused, looking up at the manager now. Something shifted inside him.
He could really use a boost, you know.
The manager continued, his whole heart behind his words.
He's angry about a lot of things. I thought maybe a little magic might lift his spirits.
He sighed deeply as if the world was burdening his shoulders.
His birthday's tomorrow. He's turning 11. Maybe. Uh, Tell me more.
As the manager described the magician's grin grew wider and wider. The children, glad for a chance to escape the boredom of the hospital's pediatric ward, sat eagerly at the cafeteria's tables. Some of the children, the less infirm ones, even bounced in their seats, awaiting the arrival of a man the nurses had called the magician. The anxious waiting was interrupted by a pop, a cloud of smoke exploding in the corner of the room. When the haze cleared, there stood the magician. His faded velvet coat hanging a little loose on his frame, an open, friendly smile spread across his face. A nurse standing nearby blinked in surprise, mesmerized by the magician's materialization. One little girl, frail but awestruck, whispered,
Where you come from?
before the magician could respond, a sharp voice erupted.
What's the point of this?
The speaker was a boy, his head bald from treatments. He glared at the magician with eyes far too old for his 11 years.
It's bad enough I have to stay in the
He made air quotes with his fingers.
children's ward, but they really think I'm gonna feel better by some Cape dimwit pulling rabbits out of hats? Please.
The magician met the boy's fierce gaze with a steady calm.
No rabbits or silly hats here.
He said softly.
Just a humble entertainer trying to make a little magic, if you let me.
The awestruck girl chimed in.
What tricks are you gonna do?
As if on cue, the magician bowed.
Actually,
He said, taking on his practiced conspiratorial tone.
I'm not going to tell you what I'll do. Instead, you
He swept a hand towards the children.
are going to tell me what I'll do.
The boy was unimpressed, his eyes narrowed.
Fine.
he said.
You want to do a trick? Okay. I wish for a brontosaurus. Let's see you do that.
His voice dripped with sarcasm. The magician's lips curved into a smile, but there was something deeper in his gaze now, something that shimmered with both unsteady and a trace of sorrow. That shimmered with both understanding and a trace of sorrow.
Granted.
A flourish of his hand, he snapped his fingers, exploded with a small flash. The beast was the size of a cat, but otherwise it looked like a denizen of Jurassic Park. The children looked on in astonishment as the tiny, toy-sized brontosaurus meandered at the boy's feet, staring befuddled at the floor, its dull eyes searching for a patch of grass. The boy eyed the mini dino with a skeptical gaze.
Cool hologram.
He laughed acridly, but the boy's mouth fell open when he reached out towards the gentle beast. His finger met a solid skin that felt like leather. The brontosaurus flickered, then vanished.
Unfortunately,
The magician said,
the hospital doesn't allow pets on the ward. I'll see that he's waiting for you at home when... Make me better.
the boy blurted, a flash of hope, raw, desperate hope, suddenly blazing in his eyes. He clenched his fists, his voice trembling as he said,
Make me better. That's what I want. I wish to be better.
The magician looked stricken. His smile faltered. He winced with pain.
I'm so sorry, he whispered. But one trick to a customer.
The boy's face crumbled, tears sprang to his eyes. Silence hung over the room for a moment. The magician, his heart heavy, turned again to the awestruck girl whose wide eyes were still gleaming with a soft smile. Alex said,
A penny for your thoughts.
he drew a penny from his ear and offered it to her.
What trick would you like to see?
The girl looked at him, her small pale hand reaching out to take the penny. She thought for a moment, then looked over at the boy, her expression as gentle as velvet.
I like his idea,
She said, her voice barely a whisper.
She glanced back up at the magician.
I want for him to get better.
Now it was the magician who was awestruck. He searched his memory, which spanned more decades than anyone would believe, for a moment where a request had inspired him with such wonder. People's wishes, especially grown-up wishes, were usually so small. Money and status, happiness in their love lives, an occasional demand for raw power. The magician felt a singular thrill of cheer as he raised his hand to snap his fingers.
This might be my best trick ever.
He confided to the girl in a stage whisper.
That was a... Yep, I'm about to go and figure out if he's written anything else. That was a really heartwarming story. Yep, I'm about to go and find out if he's done anything else. Tim Chambers, you, I don't think you'll ever hear me say this, but you did a phenomenal job. I loved that. That was just heartwarming. I hope that you enjoyed me reading it. I am definitely gonna go and read something else of his. That was That was heartwarming. I hope that you are all having a good day, and I hope that hearing that story makes you feel a little bit better. Um, you got to enjoy it as well. Um, I will try to be back by next week as well with another story. Maybe by Tim Chambers again. Just God, I love that story. I'm gonna see if he has anything else. Uh, if not, it will probably be another news story like I've been doing, where it's more recent. Um, I have a couple of older stories, but those ones I'm trying to save off for something else. Uh, I hope that everything is going well for you, and I hope that you're happy. I hope to see you again here soon. Um, I hope that you have a good night's sleep, and I hope that whenever you wake up in the morning, you feel well rested and like you can take on the world. Till then, this has been Crimson Horrors, which it's just me right now. But maybe someday, somebody will join me. Till then, have a good night, and if you're listening to this in the morning, have a good morning. I believe in you. I think that you can do anything that you put your mind to, and I hope that you believe in yourself as much as I believe in you. With that, goodbye for now. I'll see you again soon.